So the last time you joined me, I was doing this section of Posi Joists. They're all through. We just got the strong back to go through this section. That's the first thing we'll do. And then we're moving on to what's going to be the most time consuming part of this job. And that is we've got what we call 3-ply, which is a beam crossing from the end of the wall here over to that wall over there. And that 3-ply is going to pick up the ends of these joists on this side and form part of the stairwell trimming. So the first thing we need to do is select 3 timbers for that beam to make sure we've got the straightest beam. Then we'll set it out, we'll pop it in, and we'll get the joist in. So what we need to do here is, because we've got the hangers and it's important that they wrap over the tops, you know, part of the engineering, I like to actually relieve the beam either by making the beam slightly shorter right the way across, so when you put the flooring on, you're not trying to compete with the hangers plus the twist nails, which add up to, you know, 4 or 5 mil in some cases. So we'll probably mark it all out, either recess with a router for where the fold comes over and the nails go in, or we'll rip them down and so they're actually 3 or 4 mil shorter so the flooring can fly straight over the top. So we'll go and have a look at that right now and get on with the rest of this floor. So these sections here are rim boards and they're also beams. And when I say 3-ply, all that simply means is 3 timbers bolted together. So a 2-ply is 2 and a single-ply obviously speaks for itself. So this is solid timber, it's the same as joist material. It's also what we're using for rim boards. So in old money, they'd be called 9x2s. So the beam size that I need to take me from that joist all the way over to the wall plate over there. Now I could only land it where the bearing needs to be, but I'm going to go right back as well. And that was 3.680, okay? So 3680. So I'm going to select these 3 timbers I've taken from the pack outside, and I've taken them because they all stood together nicely when they're clamped together, and they form a really nice beam. They're all fairly straight and fairly flat. This supplier specialises in structural timber. And so, you know, most of their stock is pretty good. It's not like going to a timber merchant and getting what you're given or getting what you can find. So it's really nice. The other thing what I like to do is where I've got the grain, if you like, I often do that with a beam, and I put them sort of cupping grain to cupping grain like that. This one's fairly straight, to be fair, and that one can go like that. What I want to do is make sure I've got nice flat sides for my joists to butt against, and good square ends. So now what we'll do is, because we're using 3,680 millimeters, it's a lot less than the length of these timbers. These are 4.8s. So I can now check which bit of the timber is the best. So if I've got an iffy bit at the end, which looks like it's sort of shrunk down a bit or whatever, then I can adjust it for that. So that one looks pretty good from that end. These two are like twins. This one's not bad. Right, so these are the hangers. These are the single hangers, which are for the single joists. They're all single joists, but they're for the narrow single joists. And these ones here are for a much wider joist. And these will have to go, basically, we nail as many nails as we can, and then we wrap this around the top, and that's where a lot of the strength comes from with the wrap. In fact, if you look at a lot of hangers, they actually tell you fill when solid header, right? So this is a solid header, so that's when we'll fill it. If it's not a solid header and you're going to go into the side of one of the joists, then you can only fill where you've got timber, but that's really important that you're using this for the wrap. So that's it. Right, let's get on, cut these down, get it set out. So the process I'm going to use for fitting these sections of joists to get me into the stairwell trimming, as I say, I've got a 3-ply beam. I've written on the top number 1, number 2, number 3. That's the order I want to use them. Number 3 is going to be what attaches to the ends of these joists, and number 1 will be what attaches to the joists that go out on that side. So what I love about building a 3-ply beam up is I'm going to put them in separately. You can make the beam up here, make it big, put it in one. It's going to be quite heavy. We won't do that. We'll start with number 3. We'll cut him to length. We'll mark him out where the joists go. So I've got these wider joists, these wider Posi joists. I'll mark this out as per the drawing. We'll put it in, then we'll back fix the joists through here. That will hold them exactly where we want them, exactly square, and then we'll wrap the hangers around and we'll PPN those in place afterwards. Then we'll put the second one of the beams in, we'll fix that in, then we'll put the third one of the beams in. First things first, let's square these ends up. Right, let's cut the first one. In fact, we might as well cut all three. Put this bit of strong back out the way. Mark these up. Okay, 3680. Look at this, this is what it comes to. You need strong glasses and a magnifying glass, and this is a proper size drawing. If it was on A4, I'd be totally stuffed, wouldn't I? Actually, look at this. Look, one of the boys bought me a present. He was trying to take the mickey, I think, but it's lovely though, isn't it? Look how big my eye is. Huge Eye. He's an Olympian, Huge Eye. It's true, I remember that name, Huge Eye. It was from years ago. Anyone who knows which Olympian he was, say in the comments, because I can't remember what he was doing. I think it was some random, like badminton or something, but there you go. Okay, so let's get all this set out. See what I've got here, I'll put the drawing up on the screen electronically, but what I've got here is this section of joist with no rhyme or reason. Sometimes the drawings come in, I've got every single dimension on here, but here I've got these four large joists, which there's no rhyme or reason for. I reckon that they'd be equally spaced would be better than having them like this. Even if you married up floorboards, say 2.4, 4.8 and so on, I don't think they correspond, but I'll check that first to see if that would be full boards or anything like that, if there's a reason for that. The other reason is that I think what they've done is the computer set it out at 400 cent as this section here, and they've done that to avoid the hangers, the hanger to hanger. So that may be the case, especially these big ones. If any of the hangers needed to be adjusted, then I think you'd want to adjust the shorter ones that aren't doing so much. But that can only be the case. Even here, with these hanger there and a hanger there, you potentially got a clash of the hangers. So we'll have a look at that anyway, make the best of it. So on one side of my beam, I've got these really hefty joists. You can see that they're quite a wide joist. Then I've got a standard on the other side. The other side is just going to carry on through at 400 centres. This basically butts against the last joist. So I know that the first one's here and the last one's there. Then I'm just going to use my rod. We've always got a rod to hand where we're marking up at 400 centres. So I'll just bang that on there. So this is at 400 centres here. So the rod's always marked, and we use this everywhere on the roof. We don't use a tape measure and keep moving. And so this is going to have hangers all the way down the back of it. Okay. And then we square those down. Important to use, it's no good using a speed square. It's too small. You need to use a decent framing square. They're intended for. Because you've got a nice long fence against the timber, which keeps this nice and true. Use a speed square and you're sitting there. It's just not true enough, if you ask me. I'll just square these down. Sharp pencil. So important. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tack this beam together with a couple of screws on here on the bench, taking it apart to put it in. I'm going to tack it together, get my square out of the way. And all I'm going to do this for is because I want to, where I've got these super big hangers that are folding around the top of the 3-ply, I want to take out some of that hanger for the nails and the hanger with the router. Otherwise it's going to hold the floor, it's going to interfere with the floor, and it's quite close to the staircase, so as you're coming up the stairs you want everything to be dead flat and true. We're using Egger Protect, which is a glued down chipboard flooring system, one that I use a hell of a lot. You might have seen videos in the past that I've used it, and you know, you just can't go wrong with it, but you do need everything to be nice and true, of course. And what I'm going to do is just screw all this together temporarily to actually make this 3-ply up. Get the bearings nice and flat where we're going to be sitting. Down the middle or the other end. Right, that'll do me. So this is just a temporary job whilst I route the tops off and make sure that when we put the hangers in situ, nothing's going to clash and interfere with one another. Because we've got joists on one side, joists on the other side, and hangers that are going to clash. So you want to get over that as best you can. they're going to sit flush like this, and then they're going to bend obviously. So they're going to clamp my joist here, then they're going to bend around the corner. So this section that comes over the top, I want to take a little bit of timber out for them. So what I'll do is I'll square my lines over. Then I want to relieve that bit there and that bit there. So take out that and that. If I square through my joist line, effectively I want to take out this. And that's what I'm, we want to do that on every one. So, like this. So let's clean those out. Now all we need to do is basically allow the hanger thickness and the head of a twist nail. The head of a twist nail is quite thick. So I'll tell you where we want to be. Let's get a small palm router. Now I might change the base on this because as I go across here, it's going to want to drop into the housing. It's quite big. I've got a bigger base for this. I'll see how I get on. I might be able to work through from one side. The other thing I need to do is keep it nice and true and straight. I don't have to do anything elaborate about that. Let's take my square, and I can just basically run once I'm lined up. I can run the router against it. Now let's give that a go. Basically it's just enough to take that hanger and a nail head, so it's around about 3 or 4 millimeters. Makes a hell of a lot of difference to when we put the flooring over the top. So using my square as a simple fence, as a simple shoulder, you can just literally hold it on, start the cutter, look at it parallel and just keep going over, and I just think that that's ideal. It's just not worth setting anything special up for this. I can use my rob angle actually, I can set that to the right size, but it's in my van. Anyway, so when we're cutting these out, as I said about the fence or the base of this router, I've got different bases as well. If I do it in the wrong order, it will want to drop in, so by going straight the way up through here, they clean out really nicely. I'll just show you that what I mean there. So what's happening is the base is still fully supported by the stock that I'm taking out. So I'm going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. So if I went about it the wrong way and I took too much of the stock out, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just drop in. Okay, so. You can see that that's a really nice, easy, quick, accurate job. Now what did we do before this? We used a handsaw and a chisel, of course, and which is fine, it's absolutely fine, just takes longer. And where you've got knots and this timber is T26. It's really quite tough, it's dry graded, it's super solid. So these small palm routers now, I mean that's only got a 2 amp hour battery in it. I didn't even check how much power it had. Okay, it's nearly out, but it's done the whole job, and that's incredible. The amount of power that is pulled through a motor like that, spinning at such high RPM, taking out quite a lot of stock. There's a good bit of resistance there. It's a testimony to our technology nowadays. So yeah, a great bit of kit, a really useful thing to have around. That is your chisel effectively now, and it's done and dusted. And I'll just show you exactly what we were doing there. Put a hanger there. So when we fold our hangers over the top, because it's right in the floor, what we don't want is we don't want our nail heads and hangers sticking right up in the floor. Yeah, so now the nails will go in and everything will be nice and flat and flush, and the adhesive for the flooring can just go over absolutely everything. Now I've made them a tiny bit slack because if anyone who uses this type of hanger knows, as you fold them over, they sometimes distort and go in a different direction. So that's it now. So the next thing I've got to do, believe it or not, is actually give the joists a tiny little rebate, because these particular hangers, as they sit flat against there, it will hold the joist off a millimetre or two, and I've actually got all of this set up so the joist hit these trimmers or these 3 plies tight. So it's going to take me a couple of seconds with a circular saw. We'll go and do that now, and we'll take this apart. We'll put this one in, we'll put these big joists in, we'll back fix them, then we can laminate up this 3 ply and put all of these joists through the back, which are a lot more simple. In fact, what I might even do is put these joists through, screw the back, fix them, drop them in, and wrap the hangers there as well. It's a lovely job. Everything's absolutely square, true, and perfect. Right, let's get up there, rebate the end of the heavy joists, the ones that are going to go onto here. Put those joists in. I'll take this apart while we're here. It's done. Just retrace my steps. So the first one we'll put in is this 3 ply. I've got the water pipe here, so I'm just going to slot one end up on the wall. Over there. We're not going to fix this yet. That's where she's going to go. So now we're going to get our joists rebated and fitted. So these are the larger joists, the larger chords, the larger chord joists. And because of those hangers have got that little fold, I'm just going to take out a very tiny rebate with a circular saw set to depth on the ends. They're upside down. I'll flip that through there, then I'll spin them back over. We do that first. Okay, so
What we also want to do to make these things a little bit easier to manage, I'm turning back the right way up now, because they're quite lumpy, is we're going to fix a timber on the top that actually sits on top of our single ply at the moment. That will enable us to pass it and it will hold it so we can back fix it. And then we're going to wrap the hanger on these. We'll put those on as well. Let's flip everything over. These are these lovely structural screws, Wirox Spax 87mm. They're perfect through two pieces of 45 because they don't actually penetrate right through when you go flush. They've also got this amazing washer head, which unlike a countersink screw, wants to split your timber. This is going to pull the grain of timber down and hold it super secure. So once you've driven it as far as you need to drive it, turn this joist up the right way. Once you've driven it as far as you want to drive it, it's not going to keep going. So strong.
So what I was saying earlier about the 3-ply, about the beam here, it's made of 3 sections of timber, so it's a triple effectively, and that's worked out to do the span from the wall to this wall and catch the joist ends and this small bit of lightweight trimming for the end of the stairs. And so some people will put the beam together, try to lift it up and put it in, and then you've got to put your hangers around and drop your joist in, and it's all a little bit hit and miss. So these joists, believe it or not, still vary in height by 4 or 5 millimeters in some cases. So you've still got to sort them out and make sure you work to one side, say the floor side or the ceiling side, generally the finished floor side I would say. So what I've done let's just move this last one, the ceiling one that catches the board out the way. I'll just stick him out here. So what we've done is this is the outside of the triple, the first, the second, the third. So this one here, we've just end fixed this section of joist. They're sitting on the plates, and then between Ed and I in a minute, we'll catch here, and we'll slide it in, and then we'll fix it, and then we'll bolt everything through. Then we'll wrap the hangers around, and we'll PPN them on. So we use the twist nails in the gun, the positive placement nails, and we'll get them all on, and we'll wrap them perfectly. So if you've tried to make your beam up, set your hangers out, then drop your joists in, you get a lot of gaps. This way, we're back fixing into the ends of these, exactly where we want them to go. Then it's already fixed together before we wrap the hangers round. Then we can wrap the hangers round and fix it. So it's a really nice job. So Eddie and I will drop this in now, start fixing the ends of there, and put a new bit of rim board on the end. And these are fixed, ready for a small bit of trimming there. The last section of joists to go through here, and then we're working on the existing floor, and we're just going to level that up to the heights of these with some additional timbers over the top. just going to just slide it forward into your rim beam. Right. Yeah. What's going to happen, mate, is because, yeah, I'll leave mine on there now. I need to pull your ends up because they're too long on the angle, aren't they? They're diagonally longer than they are. It's going to want to jump in, so don't let go of it. Ready? How all these notches line up for these big hangers. It's going to be perfect. That's it. Right, I'll get the ends fixed now. So there's the last few being fixed to the plate. Add the rim board on the end now. But that's a really nice way of getting this 3-ply in, super strong. Now we'll put some M12 bolts through it as well, all the way through here. Wrap the hangers around it, and that's that section nice and secure and finished.